welcome everyone. Today is February the 20th to the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community call, where we largely present Microsoft speakers. In today's call, we have three superstars that are going to be presenting here today. We have Waldek, and in fact, I'm going to say I have personal interest in all three of their topics. Waldek's going to be talking about ingesting M365 Power Platform, using the Power Platform community samples, using JavaScript and Node.js. If anyone who knows me, you know that I'm a C# snob. I do not like JavaScript and Node, but I hope Waldek will bring me back into that fold. Paolo is going to be talking about Copilot Studio and creating solutions with files inside SharePoint. I wish I had enough time to play with Copilot Studio, but most of my life is spent in graph connectors, so I'm looking forward to that. And Mark Kashman is going to be talking about the M365 conference in Orlando that's coming up, something that we were talking about pre-call, and I'm hopeful that I'll be standing right there next to him. But before we actually get to all of that, as we have new folks join this call weekly, there's a little bit of updates that we do, roughly housekeeping, and we talk a little bit about news. And Vesta is here to actually do the group time photograph. Again, in keeping of the spirits of the fact that new people join us, and if you are have not, you should follow us at M365PNP on Twitter or X, or see our updates on LinkedIn to stay connected in between calls. We have a variety of different outlets for you to to remain connected and get these rich content even after it's presented today. First of all, if this is the first time and you've never seen videos with us before, we have a lot of videos curated on YouTube that's available for you. It's even done in bite-sized content, so you can literally just go directly to what the presenters are saying rather than listening to me talk through a lot of these stuff. You have those bite-sized content that you can consume. Also, in terms of keeping conversations going, we certainly encourage everyone to join the community that we have on LinkedIn. There you can have that threaded conversation. You can always refer back to speak to people, both internal and external, around the same topic. And at Microsoft, we embrace, we live, on the open source. So whether it's the PNP, Office Dev, SharePoint, or Microsoft Graph, the team that I'm on, we all have a lot of our content there, open source and available for use and for you to contribute, for you to raise issues, for you to make, just grow it as well. In addition to just that open source material, we have samples. We want to make sure that people can start off and be successful right off the bat. So we have a lot of samples that are there as well, with all of those AKMS links that you see there. However, you don't need to remember all of them. Just go to ak.ms/community/home, and it's usually there for you to grab all of them. In addition to this call that we're having right now on Tuesdays at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, we do have cadences bi-weekly and monthly for other calls, Power Platform, Office add-ins, and the SharePoint framework. Again, no need to get all of these ak.ms links down. Go to ak.ms/community/calls, where you can actually download the recurring invites, drop that on your calendar as well. And the agenda for these calls are published as well with the /meetup from community. As you'll see today, we talked about the fact that it's going to be Waldek is going to be Waldek, Mark, and it's also Paolo. We also encourage everyone to present. We request you to do that using the link here, ak.ms/community/request/demo. We welcome your demos. As long as it's not a product pitch or an infomercial, we all learn from each other. From our side to your side, everyone grows with everyone sharing. As best as I usually say, sharing is caring. If you are going to be sharing, thumbs up, Todd, I appreciate that. If you're going to be sharing stuff and you do not have a tendency, for whatever reason or the other, or you don't want to build inside production, we've got you covered there as well too. As long as you're using these tenants for developer purposes, you have available to you at ak.ms/m365/dev program a free E5 developer tenant, and other assets are available to you. And you don't have to start from scratch. On the right-hand side, you can actually see there's tons of opportunities for you to both learn and also to contribute using the ak.ms/m365dev/learn. I know folks like Waldek on the Dev Advocates team have tons of content that's here, that's just waiting for you, and it guides you through just getting started all the way down to 100, 200, 300, even 400 level items. Between himself, Bob German, Aicha, and Rabia, and Don Wallin, they do a great job in keeping that current and keeping that available and relevant. In addition, we do have M365 shows that are both on as podcasts. Interestingly enough, we talked about holidays. Vess is here, while he's on holiday. Yesterday in the United States, it was President's Day, but Caruana, Heather, and even Mark Cashman was on the Mondays at Microsoft with Heather. I showed up as well, as I was also doing a call with Rachel Erbor. She's an MVP, and she did a podcast. Rachel, if you're on the call, drop it inside here. Let's get the YouTube metrics going by getting all of these good folks to be able to click on that link and capture those metrics. There's also the Microsoft 365 Developer Podcast that I know Paul Schaeflein, Aicha Bass, and Jeremy usually does. They're actually revamping this as our team is shifting a little bit. So that's going to be starting back quickly. And also, Vesa Juvonen and Waldek have the PNP Weekly that they do as well. Vesta, do we have anyone for the sharing is caring? I don't know, but as I get to that, you let me know. As we talk about samples, I remember when I started at Microsoft 3+ years ago, this was like around 1,300 and something samples. In 3+ years, it's now 1,860 samples. So huge thank you for all of the people that contribute to these samples. It encourages people who are just joining into the community to get a great start and to be successful. And 1,860, I'm pretty sure by next year it'll be, it's teetering on 1,900. So pretty sure we may be cracking at 2,000 pretty soon. Vesta, do we have sharing and Karen, or do you want me to do it?
You can cover that. Yeah.
All righty. Okay. So on the Shared and Cared initiative, we want to ensure that, we create safe spaces for people to, do their work. Oftentimes it can be a little bit intimidating, starting off either with a blank canvas inside VS Studio or inside Visual Studio or whatever your IDE of choice is. And we all grow by learning from each other. So we created a safe space in our Shared and Cared initiative. So these sessions are usually geared towards first-time contributors, Power Platform samples, and you can see the list of bullets here. I won't read it for you, but the key thing is that usually beneficial for first-time presenters or for people that are honing their skills as presenters to be able to present here. You hear me talking here, I may flub a little bit, but it seems natural, right? It's just because I've been practicing for a very long time. So, Shared and Caring is here to help you grow that. Also, there is a recognition for that. So as you start to showcase your solutions, we also, okay, I'm looking at the together mode there. We also have contributions, and we have badges for Credly as well at the AK.NET community/recognition. And as we move from that, can everyone see my screen still? I'm looking at together mode on the screen up there. Okay, all right, fantastic. Okay. I will not do this because Mark Kashman is going to do this 100 times better than I will, and that's going to be his talk. So I'm going to skip this one and keep going and talk about the European Collaboration Summit that is coming up in Wiesbaden in Germany on May. See a lot of these presenters that you see on the bottom doing great keynotes between Caruana, Vesa, Laurie, Dan Holm, and others are going to be there. And as I mentioned before, how can I be another dutiful father and talk about the fact that my own daughter, for the very first time, she's actually an accepted speaker at this conference on her own right. In fact, I'm going to be supporting her this time. So she'll be there presenting. So come to that session as well in Wiesbaden. The tech conferences are also, available as well. They usually come around, summer, fall, and winter here in the States, in North Americas. The Seattle one is in June. I'll be there. The DC one, where I live, I'll be there. And the Dallas one, I'm not sure if I'm going to be there, but I encourage all of you to make sure that you're there if you're available. This is usually a great conference with lots of content. Some of the speakers that you see here today are there as well, too, and Microsoft. The Microsoft Power Platform Conference 24 is going to be held in Vegas in September between the 18th and the 20th. Workshops also between the 16th, 17th, and the 21st. We encourage you all to be there as well. Lots of great content around low-code, no-code solutions using the Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents, Copilot Studio, and Power Apps. Also, how can I not be thankful of the communitydays.org and all of these various meetups and conferences and organizations that are doing great stuff all over the world. This started off, I remember when I started off in 2009, SharePoint Saturday Virginia Beach, SharePoint Saturday Baltimore. This has grown into something that's just really, impactful, and it's been inclusive. A lot of these are virtual or in person. I encourage you all, as you find time on your weekend or during the days, attend these conferences, show your love, and also participate as well. In terms of the news, there's a little bit light on news this week, but I wanted to remind folks, and let me see if I can go ahead and grab these latest news. There's some news that we have here as well around Microsoft Viva, Microsoft Copilot, Microsoft Teams. Final reminder, Luberth on my team is making that reminder that the Outlook REST API 2.0 and beta endpoints are being decommissioned. And we also have information around the Teams Toolkit and Visual Studio 17.9 Rev. Microsoft Teams, I know Subri is going to be talking about that later on, so let me not even cover that right there. Subri may be covering that themselves. And we have a Copilot blog for everyone, and we encourage people to go there to see latest and greatest there. And one final one is the introduction to a new community hub for content management in SharePoint, and that link's there as well too. I think we're up now to Surbi. If you're on the call, you want to go ahead and take away the Teams platform updates, please?
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everybody. So we have a quick update today. Message extensions built using API use a web service to manage user requests and responses and don't require a bot registration or a bot framework. You can now configure and deploy API-based message extensions using Developer Portal for Teams. So please do try it out. And we want to hear from you. If you have any feedback or suggestion, please post on aka.ms Teams platform feedback. The link is available in the footer. You could also configure to the RSS feed and get regular platform updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Surbi. And as we now pivot over to the optional picture time, we encourage you to get off camera if you are available. Let's fill this conference room that Vesa have here. And I'm going to go ahead and actually
give me one second. I'm just trying to get this one. Oh, there it is. And I will get it there. Not in the typical location. So
I know this is where I live.
Yes, that is true. I guess you are seeing the screen as well. We have 50 seats in the room. I can say Waldek in the middle. You will be the first demo person. Stephanie right above. Fabian there as well. Todd, wait, do some hand waving. I can see you on the back. There we go. There we go. And Casper right next to you. We're not yet recording. Let's wait for 50 people. Let's wait for a few more seconds. See if we get the 50 people in the room. I can say Steve in the front row and Paula in the front row. This is really good. Let me actually put the recording on and let's do some hand waving. I'm not going to enable my stream because I'm on 5G just in case.
Avoid things.
So 3, 2, 1, and let's do some hand waving. We will capture a GIF animation out of this.
You know what? That was good for a joke, though, and you'll get everybody smiling as well. Yes. On your 5G network. Let's see how pixelated this comes out.
Yeah, that's what it is. Excellent. I think we have enough hand waving there. I'll capture. I'll transform that to be as a GIF animation for sure. So
awesome. So we're gonna move into our first demo. We're gonna have Waldek, share his screen, come off mute, and talk to us about extending Copilot for Microsoft 365. Waldek, floor is yours, buddy.
Thank you. Can you folks see my screen? The most important part. And the other one is, can you hear me?
We can both see your screen and hear you.
Perfect. What else do you want, right? All right, folks. Every day, right, we learn about something new, and you hear about some new cool tech on Microsoft 365 on blogs, social. And what is the first thing that you want to do? You want to tell everybody. You want to tell your colleagues, customers. What else is there? Like, what better way is there to do that than to use a sample, something that shows that new cool tech in action? Now, if only we had a great location, a collection of samples, right? Like ready-to-use code that you can just use and spin up and show others that thing in action. Turns out we actually do. So you've seen that already. We have over 1,800 samples built by all of you and others, right? That show all the different things that you can build on Microsoft 365. Copilot plugins, graph connectors, message extensions, graph apps, you name it. It's all there. Now, if only you could easily find that. Well, the cool thing is, you know about this site, right? So we have all of them available in the gallery, and all of you know the secret link. But what about the colleagues? What about the customers? Like, what if they had also this really easy ability to search and to know all of that, to actually have that in the place where they already work? What if they could find these samples right from their Microsoft 365 tenant with their new intelligent assistant being Copilot, right? So in here, what you see in a screen, yesterday, I've done some work. I feel like, you know what? Copilot, I'm looking for some new cool SharePoint framework samples to show to folks on my team. Can you help? What it brought back are actually a few samples built by all of you again, right? Right here in my screen. So this is directly embedded in the place where I work. And now I don't need to know even about this other side. I can ask it directly from here, from the Microsoft Teams, right? Just have it directly in my chat, and I can just ask it about anything I want. And the cool thing is, if I get a reference like, hey, I'm interested in sample in the, I don't know, let's say SPFX on OBO, because personally I love auth, right? So everything that's about auth, I want to see immediately what's that all about. And directly from there, I get the link to this site. So I don't even know this URL. I can just get all of that info directly from where I already work. How this works. You probably know, you've heard from the agenda that we'll talk about connectors, right? So connectors are a way for you to bring external content to Microsoft 365, no matter whether that lives in a database, repository, file system, whatever you want. You have that ability to bring it in and to make it indexable, right? To index that, to add it to search, but also expose it to other experience, like the one that you've just seen, Copilot from Microsoft 365, right? So once you've done that, you can see it here in this experience, but you can also use it in search. So here I can also search for SPFX chat, and let's see if I will find samples about SPFX chat that shows me how I could build chat on SPFX. And to make it a bit faster, oh, there you go. It's already here, right? So here we have another example that shows that I can use, read about, even see a picture in here and read more about, find it from my own environment, right? So before we dive into code, the example that we will talk about is this example here. And this is Inception. This example about importing the samples from the gallery is in a gallery for you to explore, check out, run on your own environment. Because like, why wouldn't you want to have all of these examples available in your environment for your colleagues too, right? So definitely check it out. It is a connector, right? So the way it works is that you need kind of three elements. You need a connection, which we create in a bit. And connection is basically kind of a container that you create in your tenant to import the content from your external location to Microsoft 365. That connection needs schema, which you see on the screen. So basically, schema instructs Microsoft 365 as to what properties, what information about the content that you are about to ingest you want to track. So you want to have title, description, or so all the info that you want to be able to find, search on, refine on, and so forth and so on, right? Pictures, image URL, and so forth and so on. Then, again, we create a connection. The way you do it, that is just called to Microsoft Graph, right? You call the API external and connections. You pass some info like ID, name, description, and with that, you're off to go, right? So it's really as simple as that. And once you have the connection, the next step is to create schema again, right? So we had the definition, but you actually have to upload it to Microsoft Graph too. And again, that is just another call to Microsoft Graph, as simple as that. So far, 2 calls to Microsoft Graph. What's left? Well, the one thing left is to ingest the content from your external system to Microsoft 365. And for that, like basically the logic you write here is anything you can do, right? So this is app that's written in JavaScript, runs on Node. This can be any technology stack, any kind of app you want to do. It can be a Python app, C# app. It can be Azure Function, Logic app, you name it. Whatever technology you've got available, capable of doing a call to Microsoft Graph, it's perfect stack to build this app. In this case, what is it that we want to do? Like we want to extract the content from a source, transform it so that the content that we extract from the source matches the shape that we need to upload to Microsoft Graph, and then we load it to Microsoft Graph. So it's ETL. If you ever work with data systems, you recognize that the terms ETL, right? It's nothing more than that. You extract the data in one shape, transform it to another shape, and you load that to your target store. The way we extract it, right? And again, the content in this case are the community samples of all the cool examples all of you build, right? So this is the data source that we've got. It lives on the internet and it's exposed by an API. So we basically call an API to get all of the data and we cache the results, because if you want to rerun it, we don't want to be calling the API over and over again, right? So we want to build from this a local cache. One, so we extract the data, we basically retrieve the data from the API. Then we change its shape. Simple. There's nothing really for us to do here than to get JSON in one shape, like we got the data, and then basically for each one, so we say map, change the shape. For each sample, return it in this new shape that matches the external item shape in Microsoft Graph. You can find all of that in docs, what you need to do there. Important part here are properties that match whatever you had in your schema. Right? So these need to match. If there's a mismatch, you will have error. You will not be able to upload the data to Microsoft 365. So these need to match. Two, the content field. That is really the, the unstructured data that you upload along with a content. And that is really like the core part of how Copilot can match the content with the prompt. And then final part, ACLs. Like in this case, we have the content available to everybody. It's available already to everybody on internet, right? But if you import something internal, let's say contracts or some more stuff, you want to ensure that ACLs that define who has the access to it match whatever is said in the source system from which you exported, right? They need to match because otherwise you might expose the data to folks who should not be able to see it. So this is definitely something you want to pay attention to. Once you've got that done, the last thing left is what? To upload it to Microsoft Graph. And the way we do it is just yet another call to Microsoft Graph. Like we have the connection, we upload the item, and that's basically a put. We upload the item. Well, in this case, we're doing some really cool things. As you've seen, we have over 1,800 samples here. Well, we could call them, like serial way, 1,800 calls to graph. It would be painfully slow. What if something breaks and we need to start from scratch, right? You don't want to do that, right? So it's really inefficient. So in this way, in this example, and this is a really cool example for you to explore some more, we build it in a way that we say at any point in time, we want to have 10 active calls to graph. When a call is done, we want to add another one. So we always also want to enqueue all of the samples that we've got. And then we want to, at any given time, upload 10 items in parallel to speed things up. And when I first added that, it was insane to see how much faster it is. You know what? Let me actually see if I can run this for you in parallel, just for you to be able to see the speed with which it's going to run. I am not on 5G, so it should be fast. Let's have a look. Let's wait for it to start. It always takes a moment for me to start Node, but then once it runs, it should just work just fine. Famous last words. There you go. It starts. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Famous last words. There you go. Extra. No new samples to load. Of course, there is no new samples because, as I said, we have local cache. So the one thing that I didn't do, latest change, is I did import from here. And since that date, there are no samples. So let me remove that. Let me basically pave the cache. So let me re-ingest everything that I've got in the local cache. There you are. So there are, now you can see that it already works, right? And you can see active 10. So there are always 10 items that we're trying to upload. And here is the number of items that we've got. It's not as fast as I've seen that in the past, but that's only because I'm on Teams now and I'm streaming video and you're looking at it, right? So this is why it isn't so fast. But you can already see it's faster than doing one by one 1,800 calls to Microsoft Graph, right? And Graph handles this just perfectly fine. So this works, and let it just run there, or we can even stop that because like the content is already there. right? So this is really a great example. If you will build a connector, you want to think about things like that. Let me hide terminal, right? You want to think about things like that because importing the content at scale, you don't want that to take too long, right? And once you do that, you will be able to use the content in search, but also Copilot itself. And that's really, really cool because you will make it available to everybody where they already are without having to know about special URLs, special apps, finding things, but also more easily find things from multiple apps, right? So imagine that you might have internal articles or PowerPoints about things. So you will be able to find all of that from a single point, from one prompt, as opposed to having to find multiple things and then know where things start, right? So this is really a great way to make the content available from all the different apps that you use for work from one single place where folks already are. With that, I am done. I will hand it over, I believe, to Paolo. And
you have time for one question, Waldek?
Yeah, totally.
As Paolo set up. Paolo, as you set up, let me just, and it came from me. You talked about the schema needs to match, otherwise it'll error out, and I put it in the chat. But what if you don't want to persist that particular value back to M365? Do you have to send a null or an empty string or what?
So when you define schema, you define basically it for yourself, right? So it's up to you to choose what properties you want to store. Okay. And there are a few things that Copilot requires, right? So each item you ingest, if you want to use that in that experience, the item needs to have title, icon URL, the URL, because eventually, like, you want to be able to click from this this thing to the source, right? And I believe there is another one.
So there are some required fields then, but
exactly.
Other than the required fields, you're good to go.
Exactly. And on top of that, it's really up to you to choose what you want to index, right? So basically think about like what makes sense for your case and take it from there.
Awesome. Thanks, Waldek. Fantastic demo. Paolo, you're up, buddy. If you're speaking, we can't hear you.
I hope you can hear me. I hope you can hear me now.
Now we can hear you.
Yeah,
exactly.
Perfect. Okay, so you can see my screen, I guess.
Yes.
So we can start. Okay, so this is the second episode of a series of episodes about how you can build custom Copilots with Copilot Studio. Consuming SharePoint Online or OneDrive files content. And in this episode, I'm going to show you how you can publish a custom Copilot, for example, in Teams, in order to make it possible for your end users consume your content and your custom Copilot easily. So this is the context. You have a custom Copilot, you want to consume SharePoint Online data or OneDrive data, and you want to have it as a chatbot available in Teams with single sign-on capabilities to give a better user experience to your end users. So now I'll move to the demo environment, and step by step, we are going to configure everything that we need to accomplish this task. So first of all, let me go here, and this is my Copilot Studio console. Here I have a bunch of custom Copilots that I have already defined, and I have one which is called HR Copilot Demo, which is the one we are going to work with in this demo today. And just to give you an idea of what the final goal will be, it is to have the Copilot chatbot inside the Teams so that we can ask questions to Copilot, to the custom Copilot, and get back answers based on the content of documents that we have in a SharePoint Online site, which in my scenario is an hypothetical HR website where we have a bunch of documents about HR related stuff. Okay, that's the context and the goal that we want to achieve. So in order to do that, as we did in the previous episode, and I would invite you to give an eye to that one as well to dig into the details, I have a custom copilot that I have created. But now and today, we need to slightly change the registration process to enable this custom copilot to support the publishing in Teams and the single sign-on. So first of all, in order to properly configure your copilot, you need to set up the authentication of the custom copilot. So you need to choose if you want to consume SharePoint Online or OneDrive data, a manual authentication, and you will have to configure an application in Azure Active Directory. We have seen already these steps in one of the previous episodes. So let me go to Azure Entra ID, and let me create the registration of an application, which can be, for example, HR Copilot demo, and will be the reader application that I'm going to create. And while registering this application, it can be a single or multi-tenant one. I can copy the redirect URL from Copilot Studio, which I will use to configure a web application authentication for my Entra ID application. And once I've done that, I can use the client ID of my application in the client ID settings of my custom copilot in Copilot Studio. Then I can go and double check in the authentication section that I have the proper redirect URL, and I can enable the access token and the ID tokens from an authentication flow point of view. So that then in the certificate and secret, I can create a client secret for my application. I'm going quite fast here because it is something that we have already covered previously, but we needed to go through all of the steps and to get to the single sign-on part of the story. So let me copy the share secret, and I will paste the share secret in the settings, in the authentication settings of my application. And then I will need in Azure Entra ID to configure for my application a set of API permissions. First of all, from a security point of view, I want to stress the information that we are going to configure Microsoft Graph delegated permissions. So every single user will be able to access only the document that they have access to. And I will select the OpenID and profile permissions. Plus, I want to have sites.read.all because I want to be able to read the sites as well as the files, and all of them will be delegated permissions. So once I've added them, I can grant them so that the end users will not have to do an explicit grant when they will start using our chatbot in Teams. And now that I have done that, I can just save the settings in the custom authentication in Copilot Studio. And so far, we are exactly where we were last week when we created our custom copilot. Now that I've done that, I can go to publish and publish my custom copilot so that this initial setup will be written in stones and made available through Copilot Studio. But now what I want to do is to publish this custom copilot in Teams. So it takes a while to do the initial publishing, but once it will be done, I will be able to go to the channel section that you see right here. So go to channels, and from here I can choose one or more of the available channels that I want to use to make my custom copilot available. And my target, as I said, is Teams. So if you click on Microsoft Teams, you can turn on the Teams channel, which means that this custom copilot will become available and ready to be used in Teams. What does that mean? Well, first of all, we can properly configure a set of additional details for our bot, which will be available in Teams. So by clicking on Edit Details, we can change the icon, we can change the reference color for the icon that will be used to represent our custom copilot. We can provide a description, a long description, and so on and so forth. But by clicking on the More button right here, and selected More, you can configure all the developer information if you have a website, a privacy page, a terms of use page, and stuff like that. And you should do that if you are creating a solution for your own company or for your customers. And then there is a section right here in the lower part of this advanced details section where you can configure additional settings which will become useful to enable single sign-on in Teams. So how can we get those settings? First of all, again, we need to copy a reference value, which is the app ID for our custom Copilot application. So let me copy this value in the clipboard. we go back to Entra ID, and from here we can go to the Expose an API section, and in the Expose an API section we are going to configure a bunch of settings so that we will make it possible for the app that we just created to support single sign-on. First of all, we need to configure a unique URI to expose a custom API in our app. So let me click on Add, and the URI that we need to use, it has to be with the following format. So API followed by both ID dash and the unique ID that we just copied from the Copilot Studio. So this will be my reference value, okay? Then, once we have done that, we can create a custom scope so that we will enable the consumers of our application to consume the app, providing a specific access token with the scope that we are going to create right now. The scope name can be whatever you want. In my scenario, it can be, for example, hr.read, because I want to make it possible for consumers to have the permission to read my HR data. But the name, again, can be whatever you like. It will be a scope that can be consented by admins and users. And here I'm just a lazy developer, so I will simply copy and paste the same value. In a real solution, you should provide a good description and a good display name. But as I said, I'm a lazy developer. And I will add my scope. Okay, once I've done that, this information about the scope will be useful because we are going to grant the applications used by Teams, so the desktop and web and mobile application of Teams will be automatically granted to and authorized to use this permission scope for this application. So by clicking on the Add a Client application, we start with the desktop and mobile application. This is the unique ID. You will find it in the official documentation, so you don't need to memorize it. But if you want, it's a good exercise, up to you. And we can reference the desktop and mobile application ID for Teams, and we authorized our custom permission scope for that application. And then we do the same for the web application of Teams. So we click Add a Client again, we provide the ID of the web app of Teams, and we still grant the same, we do the authorization of the same scope. Now that we are done with that, we copy in the clipboard the either the unique URI or the permission scope, and we go back here, and in this UI, we need to provide the unique URI right here, so this information. The client ID, which we can get from the overview panel of our application right here. And we save again the settings of our team channel for our custom Copilot. Once we've done that, we need to go back to the security settings. Sorry, there is a bit of a back and forth in the UI, but it is what it is. We go to the authentication section again, and here we have a field which I intentionally left blank before, which is the token exchange URL. Now, despite the name, which looks like a URL that we are going to use or to consume as an API, actually in this field, we need to provide the permission scope, the custom permission scope that we created for our application, which means that we need to go back here in Entra ID, back to the Expose an API section. We copy this value and we paste it here. So this will be the custom permission scope of our application, which will be used by the backend infrastructure of Copilot Studio during the single sign-on phase in order to leverage the on behalf of flow and to get an access token on behalf of the currently connected user. So the user who is consuming our bot, our custom Copilot, for example, in Teams. And that access token on behalf of the user will have the permission scope to consume our API. But in our custom Copilot, we also want to consume SharePoint Online content. So when making a request for an on behalf of token, we will also need to specify that we want to get on behalf of token, not only for our custom permission scope, but also for the permission scopes which will make it possible to consume the SharePoint Online data. So I'm adding the sites.read.all and the files.read.all permission scopes to this list of permission scopes. And I can save again my application, my authentication settings, sorry. And once it's saved, I can close this one. Oops, don't leave, and save again. Okay, done. Now we can go to publish, and we need to publish the custom Copilot again, because we need to make all of these new settings available again inside the public registry of the custom Copilots and in the environment that we are targeting. Now that the publishing is done, we can go back to the channels. You can do from here or from here, either way works. And if you go back to the Microsoft Teams channel, you can go to availability options, and from here you can make your choice about how you want to make your custom bot available to the end users. And here you have multiple options. One is to just copy a link which will target the custom bot, and you will provide the link to the target users, and they will be able to start using your bot. I will show you shortly how you can do that. Or you can click on the show to my teammates and shared users. So this one will be an option that will allow you to share the app to a specific set of users, or show to everyone in my organization, which will make your application registered and available as an app in the Teams app catalog of your target tenant, which is what I have done in my scenario for 2 other sample custom copilots that I created in this demo environment. Once you choose, for example, the show to everyone in my organization, the app will be uploaded to the apps of Teams. So if you go under admin.teams.microsoft.com, Team Apps, Manage Apps, there you will find your application, and you will have to publish the application. So I can do that for the sake of showing you what happens. So let me do that. Let me submit for admin approval. It means that in a matter of few seconds or minutes from now, the app will show up in the apps of Teams, and we will be able to approve and publish the application in our store, Teams Apps Store. The fourth option that you have in the previous UI allows you to download a zip file, which will include the manifest file, the Teams manifest file, and the icons for your application, so that you can do the manual publishing in any of the target tenants where you want to reuse the application. As I said, it takes a while to do the publishing in the App Store, and hopefully now it is almost done. It is almost done. And now we can see that it is waiting for approval. So if I'm lucky enough, I can go back here and I can refresh my list of apps and search for HR Copilot again. So let me do that. Let me change the view and let me search again. And hopefully it will be already there. Yes, it is. So HR Copilot demo is now here. As you can see, it is blocked right now, but I can click on it. And as an admin, I can choose to reject or publish the application. If I will publish the application, it will become available to all of my users when they will go to Teams and they will add an app from here, but it will take minutes, not 1 or 2 minutes, maybe more than that. So I'm not going to make you wait for that time right now. And that's why I have already created in my demo environment a couple of other HR Copilot samples, one with the single sign-on experience, as I just showed you, and another one without the single sign-on experience. So now I'm switching to a demo user that I have, and I'm almost done then. And I will first of all show you the user experience when you don't have the single sign-on configured. So this is the URL that you can use to directly activate a custom Copilot in Teams without going through the whole process of registering the app. Here I am with a user, hypothetical user called Julie Red, and I can add the HR Copilot with no single sign-on. The no single sign-on experience will provide to the end user this experience. So the user will have to click on the login button. And by clicking on the login button, there will be a kind of a dance. There will be a new tab opened. And then once it will be closed, we will get back a welcome message from the Copilot Studio, and the user is now authenticated. On the contrary, if you use the single sign-on experience, and let me do that, and then I'm almost done. Again, we open it, we use the web experience, we add the application, and once it will be added to my user experience, as you can see, I don't have to click the login button, but I'm right there ready to consume my custom Copilot with single sign-on because I already have my access token with the on behalf of Flow, which has been created for me with all of the permission scopes needed to consume my target custom Copilot. So that said, let me briefly switch back to the slide there. This was a backup plan in case of any need. I pre-recorded the running solution. This is a recap that I leave just for your reference. So all of these steps you need to go through in order to register and publish a custom Copilot in Teams with single sign-on. And here you have a set of useful links if you want to dig much more into this topic. That said, I think that's all for me. Back to you, Fabian. Thank you.
Paolo, that is fantastic. I gotta say, listen, this is one of those episodes that I'm gonna have to watch at least twice. Great content, good explanation, but moved a little bit too fast, especially since I'm unfamiliar with some of these tooling. But it is fantastic. I'm definitely gonna watch this over and actually take all the steps that you've done. It's really fantastic. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And bringing us home, Mark Kashman, you're up next to talk to us about the M365 conference. Know before you go.
Know before you go. This is plan before you go. Thank you, Fabian. And great to see Paolo and Waldek doing their amazing deep dive dev. You're not going to see any code here, but know that there are tons of code that is running a lot of things that I'm going to show you and talk about. But thank you for the time. This is really just to go inside what it is that Microsoft is planning for the Microsoft 365 Community Conference, working with the event team, working with MVPs, getting all the ideas from you from the past. We're soliciting a lot of information so that we can put on a good show and give you the information that you need, both product updates and deep dive information about how to do X and Y. So I have a little information to share. Certainly, if you have any questions, I can address them in the chat afterwards. But let's get into it. This is Inside Planning, the Microsoft 365 Community Conference. So if you didn't know, it is in Orlando, Florida. That's in the United States, and it's on the Disneyland property within the Swan and Dolphin Hotel. It's a unique place to walk around. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot that's going to be happening inside the community center because we're building it out to have really unique experiences inside the expo hall. We want you to save the date to join us there so that you can join the keynote, the breakouts, the workshops. We're giving you an incentive of $100 if you use the specific code. I'll probably mention that a couple times. And you'll see peppered throughout all the links I just posted into the chat that you can review and look into more, and certainly review the entire public website on your own. There's a lot more to come, and that's really what I'm here to share, which is what is Microsoft working on and how are we going to be supporting this conference. So the why to attend, I think, is generic to why attend any in-person conference, why participate in any online conference, so that you can discover what it is that you're interested in. Of course, this one is very specific around Microsoft 365, the Power Platform, what we're doing in all sorts of products like SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, Planner, Loop, Lists, you name it, we're covering it across the spectrum. We have a lot of peers across Microsoft, MVPs, and communities. But a big focus will be AI. We want you to be comfortable with what we're doing with what AI is, what it offers. Big focus, of course, on Copilot and Copilots. Whether you're a developer, IT, or just a business user, there will be something for you to help you understand what it is, to give you the confidence in terms of how we're building it, deploying it, what it can do to keep you safe, but also what it can do to make you productive and work with each other. There's going to be a lot at the core level. So we're working on a lot of sessions. A lot of the feedback we got in the past was we need more focus on adoption, deployment. what it is that I can do with it once I've committed to using it. So we want you to build those skills. We want you to gain knowledge and share it with a bunch of other people so that you can get comfortable with the tools. Microsoft 365 just by itself offers a ton. I know you all know that. The Power Platform adds even more of a ton. That's 2 tons. And then there's Azure, and there's everything that you do as developers to make it so that you can customize it, all of which is very true and all of which is very much the focus. And I think the most important thing, like we're doing today, is networking, getting to know each other, swapping ideas, maybe chiding each other, and sharing those things that we've learned so that then, as Vesa would say, and I think now the whole community has adopted it, sharing is caring, and an event of itself is a giant share. So let's get beyond the why attend and get it into a little bit of the specifics. I thought I would start with the voice of an attendee from the past. This is a collection of attendees. I hope the audio comes through, and I'll just let this play.
It's an amazing experience. You get to interact with people that you wouldn't otherwise across different industries.
It's a great conference. It's packed, which has been fantastic.
Very engaging, very awesome. We're learning a ton of new items that are coming and products that are being launched.
A lot of people, a lot of networking. I love it. People are generally really nice.
Great speakers. Jeff's keynote was awesome. It's been wonderful so far. These events are really great. We've been working remotely for too long, and it's great to come out and see new people.
So you get to hear experts share their experiences and ask questions. That's another positive benefit.
It's just one giant community of interested learners. It's very fun, and it's really cool to meet other people here that are doing the same thing.
The vibes are good.
All right, so that's what it looked like last year, and I hope you saw some familiar faces. Did you see Paolo in there? But let's get into then what is it going to be in 2024. This is really our focus of building out content. Of course, it comes with a huge amount of engagement, and it is what Microsoft is doing alongside MVPs and community. So we've got a big opening keynote with Jeff Teeper. I've seen at least the outline and planning of what the team is looking to put on as a big show to kick everything off. It'll be a all-encompassing keynote, and Jeff is going to be joined by several product leaders. Then we've got 5 general sessions that essentially take the keynote and break it down into 5 larger segments that we want to focus on to give you sort of the broadest view possible, but also that double click from what you can get from within Jeff's 75-minute session. So each general session will really focus on pretty broad areas. And then everything off of that is just to refine down and engage. We've got an AMA, we've got several customer panels. There are a lot of 60-minute breakout sessions that are coming. On this, I'm listing 80. Those are Microsoft-led sessions. But in addition to that, there's about twice as many from the community and MVPs. There's also lightning talks. These are great if you want to get just a little bit about something small or a cool demo or something you need to know as an end user. We're planning about 25 of these, but I think that'll grow when we start to pull in community as well. That'll be in the Expo Hall. We've got some specific content for D&I, for diversity and inclusion, plus some career sessions. So you can learn about not only what it is that the tech is, but what it's like to be a certain individual, doing things in a certain way, working with tech, and how to learn how to navigate some things, whether it is your own experience in tech or building your career, building your network. There is a specific track. I can't reveal the name just yet, but I'll just call it the business track for now. That's programmed by Dan Holm, who always puts together great content of his own through Viva Engage is what his big focus is. But this is really broad so that if you're a business user, especially mid to level to exec, there's a specific track that's being built out for you. Then we have our design team and our research team coming in to do these 30 to 60-minute sessions on a very specific topic to get your feedback and to do some hands-on design work, which is really fun. You have to sign up for them, but they're very much worth going to. Throughout the week, we'll have execs meeting and greeting if you want to chat with them, ask questions, get a selfie taken, those kinds of things. And for the deeper discussions that maybe are behind closed doors, we've got one-on-one customer meetings that are set up too. On the right, we've got what looked like last year with Jeff on stage, at least planning what we're planning for around the booth. It'll probably be a little bit bigger than what's pictured in there from what I've heard. But you'll get a sense that Microsoft will have a presence inside the Expo Hall alongside all of the vendors, which is not a small amount of people, and vendors and companies. And generically speaking, this is essentially what the expo hall will look like. So your friend, I just wanted to put out here, just a little quick call out. But if you go to the site, which I'll show you in a second, you'll see that each speaker is listed with what they're covering, and each session has a little bit more detail in terms of an abstract. But Paolo's doing a lot. If you liked what he heard, what he shared today, there's of course a lot more focused on the graph and bringing a lot of what it is that the SharePoint framework and some of what you can do with low code can do, especially if you like workshops. Paolo always puts on a great workshop. But this is a sample page when you get to the site. The other thing I want to encourage, and this is certainly not intended for that you have to attend to get this badge. It really is your intent to be an attendee of the Microsoft 365 Community Conference. It's your attendee badge that's for your profile in the Microsoft tech community. You can get it today and it'll apply it right to your badge, but then the experience hopefully is you get your badge and then show us while you're at the conference in Orlando, and that'll set you up for a prize giveaway. If you come by the booth, show us your badge, we want to give you a prize for doing that. But you can do this at any time, and I'll show you that I've already done it as well. The other thing is, if you didn't see, there was an in-mail message from Jeff Teeper that talks about this a little bit, but it also gives some broader details about the conference. So this is what my profile page looks like. If you go to the tech community and you click on your image and see show profile, or you view anybody else's profile, you can scroll up and down their page, especially if you click on the achievements tab, and that's where you'll see the badges that you've earned or the ones that you've proactively pulled in. But I think with that, even though these aren't going to be coding demos, I thought it would be fun to see just a little bit of what it is that we got planned and how we're doing it. So I can't show you a lot of what the sessions are. I guarantee that you will see them within the coming weeks in terms of the Microsoft-led sessions. There are already a ton of sessions that are published to the public site already with a lot of great speakers and a really good insight into the intent of the whole conference so that you can see, does it have what I need, and will there be those sessions that I expect? I can say the answer is yes, and definitely once these are all published, you will see these in full. But what I wanted to show you a little behind the scenes is we did a call for content internally. This is the list. It really is a Microsoft list stored in the space where we're working on the conference internally. And it's got a lot of people. You can see I've got a few people that are also in here with me right now. We can have the presence that's coming in. But real quickly, I just wanted to show you the form that we created using the new forms technology that isn't yet quite released, but we've talked about it. And this is the form that we created to share with anybody inside Microsoft that wanted to submit a session for the conference for consideration. This is the form. I won't go into too many details because I don't want to burn too much of my time. But you can see in here we collected the session title, the abstracts, who the intended speakers were, and a few other aspects that we could learn what this session is about and which team it came from. And when you see this, this just looks like a form that you would fill out so that you can view it at any time. And hopefully if this form loads, we'll go back to the preview. And you can get a sense that you fill it out, you submit it, and it doesn't expose the list. Just as a recipient of this form, I fill it out, publish it, it sends it to the list as a new item, but I don't actually see the whole list, which is pretty cool. So we use some new tech and, of course, the power of lists to manage our sessions. All right, real quickly, if you haven't been to the Microsoft 365 conference site, this is it. It's got a lot of great information, even on the front page of who some of the speakers are, some of the things that we're planning, the highlights from last year, and, of course, the epic party that's planned. In the links in the chat, I already posted a couple of links to a few articles like this one, but what I wanted to show you here, I'm in the SharePoint community blog, and I'll show you in my profile, my badge that I collected for the Microsoft 365 conference. That graphic, it's the same thing. This is my profile. I click on achievements, and there you can see I've earned the Microsoft 365 community conference badge, and so can you, and that link is in the chat. Next up is going to my next tab, which is hiding on me, is if you visit the conference Twitter handle, they're posting a lot of great things to expect, a lot of information about workshops, presenters, and all the different things that you can expect. If you're on Twitter or on X, definitely give them a follow, at least for a short bit of time so you can learn more about the event. This is what I'll be publishing in a couple of weeks. This is the one from last year. You can expect a guide that will give you a full look in terms of all the different sessions that we're planning across all the different product teams and track categories. And of course, a lot of links so that you can learn more. And if you were paying attention and you're a follower of the Cashbox, I just published an article this morning that talks about my thoughts on the upcoming event, which you're getting right now live, so this might be duplicative, but certainly another source to be able to learn to make a good decision. So back to just a few slides so that you can see a little bit more. This will be also in the deck that the team posts for the on-demand portion of this recording. And so you can learn a little bit more about the attendee party if you like Harry Potter or Spider-Man, or you're a fan of being scared by big ginormous Tyrannosaurus Rex. There's always a fun party. It happens to be at Disneyland, specifically in the Universal Islands of Adventure. Really fun. If you want to give a little bit of shout out around your plans to go to the conference, or you just want to help advertise that there's a great conference to attend, whether you can or not, we'd love for your eyeballs and ears and your outbound channels. This will just be a cheater way to be able to copy paste and publish about the event. There's also some fun YouTube channel videos that the team has been publishing that give you a little bit more, and always use the hashtag M365Con. So get ready to power your AI transformation. Register today. I hope you've learned a little bit around what it is that Microsoft is planning behind the scenes. We are sponsoring the event, full transparency. We take no, we're not shy about that. We work closely with the event team. We work closely with MVPs, and we really do listen year over year what it is that the audience wants. So check it out. Look at all the information. Decide whether you want to join us. We encourage you to register. Don't forget to register with that code, which is the MSCUST. And you will get a discount, and let us know if you're attending. With that, Fabian, back to you.
Next, for the next week, we have Aicha Boss, we have Mark Wendell, and I can't remember the other one because I don't want to crash my teams again. But we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you very much. Best of some teams happen, man. I apologize. All right. Take care, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.